Okay, let's take a deeper dive into how Argentina's economy has been and is going to continue performing. And for that, we're joined by Iñaki Martínez Soria, a political analyst and founder of eWire, who is in Buenos Aires. Let's pick up on just what you heard. There are some positives to take away. Let's begin with that and your reaction to today's reading.
Hello, Sean. Good evening for us here. Good afternoon for you over there. Yes, actually, I would like to take a small step back to take a broader look onto the picture of what President Milei inherited. What President Milei inherited back in December cannot be characterized as anything different as an economic minefield. Argentina was heading towards catastrophe. Just a few figures. In December, the monthly inflation rate was 25.5%. An annual rate in the previous years, 211%. The fiscal deficit was 4.2% of the GDP. Poverty rate over 40%. Foreign currency reserves, a net 10 billion negative. The debt, 419 billion for Argentina. I mean, effectively a disaster. Nowadays, government appears to have been able to stave off much of that. Inflation has been quelled pretty much. We're standing now at a 4.2% rate for May, the lowest since January 2022. This week, some indicators indicate that the weekly rate of inflation has been 0% for the first time in 30 years. And we've had a fiscal surplus until May of 0.4% of the GDP. So those are, of course, some encouraging figures. Naturally, such a macroeconomic adjustment comes at a heavy cost and heavy burden, and those are the figures which came up today.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, it was to be expected. Nonetheless, it is hard, of course, for everyday Argentine families.
Yeah, I think you did a great job of kind of giving us a forensic analysis of where the country was and where it is heading. But there are still a lot of problems. Low productivity, weak growth outlook, significant external financing is going to be needed to move forward. Let's pick on what you're talking about in the everyday life of Argentinians. What are they saying about the economic situation? What are you hearing?
Well, of course, naturally, there are some voices expressing concern. I would argue that Argentines have exhibited a great degree of patience towards the administration. The administration was, from a very first moment, clear that we were facing a steep hill and a steep battle ahead. I think that picture painted by President Milei on his inauguration speech was internalized by the Argentine people, and so far they have exhibited patience. Actually, the president continues to enjoy a relatively high rate of approval in the low 50%, which is significant considering the difficult economic and social outlook.
Right.
Of course, as in any administration, there are lights and darks, but I think that the Argentine people has exhibited this patience. But now, of course, that if the president manages to pass his ambitious reform package through Congress, they will start to demand significant improvements on their economic outlook.
Okay, now here's the rub against that. There are a lot of people who are very upset in Argentina, especially pensioners. And secondly, there are a ton of holdovers from the Perón-type government still in there who are going to be fighting him tooth and nail on this. If it doesn't go through, you're looking at the possibility of him being a lame duck for the next 2 years and the country just completely spiraling out of control.
Yes, absolutely. Of course, the bill has effectively passed Congress. Now it has returned from the Senate to the lower house in order to approve or reject the specific modifications to the law. However, naturally, there are some people speculating, and as they have been from day one.
Sure.
We have a president with a very weak parliamentary, he has only 7 senators out of 72. He has 38 congressmen out of 257. That is really difficult, and those numbers do not even allow to block an impeachment proceeding if one were to come to the floor and have majority support. So naturally, there are those speculations. I think that the presidency has managed to maintain a relative degree of strength up to now. There's still relevant public support. And if you see, in general, the governors or different sides of the opposition have reached across the aisle, if you would, to provide support for the presidency in his ambitious reform package. And we'll see how that plays out.
Okay, is it too early to even give any kind of grade to the president's performance so far? I mean, he's colorful, he's entertaining, and that has won the hearts of some people. Right now, he's trying to win this outside support, economic support moving forward. How critical is that to the country? And kind of give us a grade. What are people saying about this so far?
Well, of course, as you say, he's out of the ordinary. He's a proper outsider. People seem to enjoy his remarks. However, naturally, of course, there are areas of government that have been, I would say, riddled with scandal. Particularly if you say the social policy, there has been some coming and going with the social organizations which handle the soup kitchens around Argentina. There have been some scandals in terms of food distribution. Foreign policy has been a particularly contentious area. The president has, as what some perceive to be an overly ideological stance on foreign policy.
Right.
However, there are some encouraging signs, and I would argue, for example, China renewals of its swap with the Argentine Central Bank, and a potential or rumors of President Milei meeting with President Xi in the next month. So I think that the administration is beginning to mature in those areas, and of course retains support in other critical areas for the population. For example, in terms of security, the administration has exhibited a tough stance on crime, and people are certain to appreciate it. So I would say that it is too soon to tell.
Right.
There are some lights, and of course, lots of room for improvement.